Good evening, viewers. Natada here, welcoming you to Spooky Month. And to start things off, why don't we read a creepypasta? Hopefully the audio for this video will be better than it was for my previous two videos. So the story I'm gonna read you is a Mario creepypasta called I Hate You. And just for the occasion, I'm gonna be using Joe Mario as my avatar. So let's begin. This isn't one of those haunted game stories. At no point will you hear me claim that something in the game spoke to me, reacted to my words, or forced me to repeatedly punch myself in the face. Aww. No, this isn't about a haunted game, or a game doing something impossible, or even something it shouldn't have. This isn't about a glitch or a hidden satanic message, and at no time did I phone Nintendo headquarters, only to have my questions answered with hushed whispers or anguished screams. Then why would anyone read this? This is a game feature I don't think anyone else has unlocked. That's it. No ghosts, no conspiracies, just a secret we were all supposed to find but never did. Something that changes an entire generation's childhood and the very essence of a multi-billion franchise. If that's all it is, then this story won't be very much fun to riff on. Or will it? This is about what I assume to be a previously undiscovered alternate ending of Super Mario World with the Super Nintendo. In 1996, I received my first computer as a birthday gift. I had been on the internet before, I had used computers before, but it had always been in school or at a friend's house. This one was mine. Oh, mine. I'm sorry, I was channeling my inner supervillain there. I explored the crude prehistoric web at the time with great interest. I downloaded all sorts of pornography and even printed it out, which made absolutely no sense. Then why did you do it? I also pirated media like a madman. Musics, games, anything. This is where I first discovered Mario World. I had never had a Super Nintendo as a little kid, so it was all new to me. I downloaded tons of games along with a SNES emulator, but Mario World was my favorite. And I'm more of a Luigi's Mansion guy myself. For over a decade, the same Mario World ROM, my time-wasting hobby. Played it over and over again, beating the game faster and faster until I began to lazily explore the world with no particular purpose. That sounds just like a Pokemon game. Game Genie codes helped immensely. I could turn off the timer and leave an particularly entertaining map for an hour as I waited for a download or any number of boring events. It was in this manner that I must have beaten and re-beaten the game thousands upon thousands of times. There was comfort in the obsessive compulsive behavior of this routine, but all of that was shattered when I saw the Blind Boo. The Blind Boo, as I refer to it, was hovering over the exit from the haunted sunken ship level later on in the game. I called it the Blind Boo because it actually had no visible eyes. It was like someone had made a lazy ROM hack, maybe because someone did, but I knew from years upon years of experience that this was a normal game. Really? Was it really a normal game? Was it? The Blind Boo just hung over the exit pipe, blocking it. I turned my back on it, but it didn't chase me. How could it? It didn't even see me. Then I noticed something else was out of sorts. There was a key and keyhole misplaced above the exit. Keys and keyholes and such are ways of ending a level in an alternative manner and discovering a secret area. Still, this didn't belong there, and I knew it. For a moment, I had considered the fact that I had actually broken a ROM file from overuse. After taking a screenshot to specifically show all of you Mario Bros. Things out there, I picked up the key and opened the door, fearing the game would seize up and I'd have to restart. You know, that's how I always feel whenever I have to edit one of my videos, especially particularly long ones. Instead, it opened up a new path to a map selection screen, a whirlpool next to Bowser's already creepy head cave thing. I pressed the right arrow and moved to the whirling drain. Oh god, no! This didn't really strike me as odd. Really? The map title, Oh God No, didn't strike you as odd. Neither did the blood pouring from the cave's eyes. Okay, because if you're familiar with the Mario World game, there's an area called Star Road that you may note has similar names. I am not, but I will check this out after I'm done reading. Just stuff like tubular and awesome and all manner of dumb words and phrases. I wasn't aware that Oh God No was a dumb phrase. Most areas were called Vanilla Forest 1 and Donut Mountain 3 and all that. But there were maps with odd names like that. What did concern me though was Mario's expression. Surprise? Shock? Fear, anxiety, depression, constipation, nausea, irritation, insert descriptor here. I entered the map. Oddly enough, the whirlpool in the middle of the lake began with the standard castle entry animation. Mario walked up to a castle door, looked up, and then went in. I could tell it was underwater though, because of the bubbles that periodically emerged from the sprite's mouth and flowed to the top of the screen. Inside the castle, it started to look more and more like I was in fact experiencing a glitch. There was no room to jump, no room to do anything but run right and left. I must have gone right for 10 to 20 minutes, just holding the B button and running along at full speed. After a while I ran into one or two of the blind boos in the darkness above, then 3 or 4. Then the screen was full of them. They just kind of hung there, doing nothing. They wouldn't chase me if I turned my back, as with the previous blind boo. If I made any noise, like Mario's jumping sound, they would just kind of shudder a bit, like they heard the sound of Mario's movements but couldn't do anything about it. Then something made me stop and turn the other way. Now I knew without the shadow of a doubt that this map was designed to specifically screw with the player. Not because of the giant bleeding bill that was hemorrhaging profusely from its face, but because it was inescapable. And it was hemorrhaging profusely from its face. There was literally no way to avoid being killed by it, as you can clearly see above. That is, unless you're like me and you have the Game Genie cheats on hand. I switched the code on for permanent invincibility. Is that a thing? I have to check. I let the bleeding bill chase me for a while when I was invincible, just to get a good look at the thing. I stopped and killed with my invulnerable touch, only when I saw a message that hadn't been there when I had passed before. I hate you. Title draw. That kind of freaked me out. Yes, I do unnerved by a message written in 2-bit pixel blood on the wall. Who hated me? King Koopa seemed like the obvious answer. I think you mean Bowser. Or maybe just the ghosts. No, it was Wart. He was enraged against Nintendo because he only appeared in one game. Bring him back, Nintendo. When you're in a haunted castle that you found by way of a haunted ship, a bloody-looking hate message isn't so unbelievable, which is why it creeped you out. I saw it again as I approached some giant boos. I was thankful that the blind blues ended at this point, because the more I watched them shudder, the uneasier I felt. Almost empathetic towards them, etc. The unthankfulness ended when I turned my back on the giant boos, and this happened. Oh my god, boos chasing you as soon as you turn your back. Who would have guessed? Giant boos with faces that I hadn't seen before. They always looked mad at being awakened, angry that you were invading their haunted houses across the Mario World island. This was different. They looked gleeful, don't they always? Demented. I could see right down their throats, which seemed odd given the lack of detail their mouths usually displayed. And yes, of course I'm going to address the message you just saw in the picture. Why won't you die? I don't know why. Am I supposed to? Who's asking? Me. I'm asking, why won't you die so this story can end? I let the giant boos touch me and they died, just like the bleeding bills, of which I had encountered 2, even though we only saw 1 in the screenshot you took. Despite any attempt to scare the player, I knew that being invincible meant invincible no matter what they threw at me, and here I was invincible meant easily beaten. After a while of running down this strange claustrophobic corridor with no more eventful happenings, I came to a room with an exit pipe. Taking the pipe downward, I came out the other end and dropped into a room filled with water. The water made sense, this being a sunken castle beneath a whirlpool and all. No, really. I was rewarded for my troubles with a question mark block that released a mushroom for me. I could have easily done this with a cheat code, but the thought had escaped me as I faced all these new and strange sights. I mean, I have taken the mushroom, but hey, I'm not the author. The first creatures I encountered in the underwater portion of the castle were thwomps. Unless you've been living under a rock since the mid-80s, you know that thwomps are stone-like square creatures that hang from the ceiling and fall whenever you come near. They crush you, essentially. No, really? Looking at these things, I thought they baked your cupcakes. Well, these thwomps lined up in a tight row, dropped repeatedly and randomly with no real trigger or any sense of logic. Yes, because a game about a plumber who has to rescue a princess from a turtle dragon and fight off hordes of monster mushrooms and ghosts totally has to make sense. They would just wait and drop whenever they seemed to feel like it. Oh, you mean like an obstacle? It also looks like these thwomps had been very successful thwomps. More cartoony blood for me to be afraid of. This was getting pretty unusual for the Mario Bros. Franchise, which I hadn't recalled seeing blood in at all. Now I'd seen it used 3 times. The bloody bills, the messages, and now these perpetually smashing, grinding thwomps who were working their victims, into pulp. Forever. In the hampering effects of the water, I slowly walked under these things, making sure every single one touched me and died. There were almost 3 of them in a row, and the sight of them mindlessly crushing over and over again just made me hate them with an unsettling intensity. What's weird is that the blood caused Mario to slide as if he were on an ice level. After walking through that gauntlet of depravity, I swam into a more open area, and that was filled with spikes on the floor and ceiling. It was difficult to swim this matter without touching the spikes, but since I was turned invincible, I didn't think much of it. I avoided them more for fun than out of any sense I'd be damaged. It stopped being fun really fast, though. Now I knew some of what was going on. I think it means something was going on. The unending mess of the swamps had been splattering? It was other Marios. Past Marios that had tried to traverse this level and failed. I had to admit this was an excellent touch, even if it was a little bit ghoulish. Whoever had designed the map actually broke the 4th wall and showed you the bloated, motionless abortions of the player's own careless treatment of Mario's tiny life. The bodies only flowed straight up and down a tiny bit, as if to show the effects of a light current. It was genius, and I couldn't believe I might be the first and only person to ever see this. I told the idea of taking more than one screenshot I just presented to you, basically so that all of you reading this could enjoy the secret map as much as I have. Ah yes, I do enjoy the sight of dead floating corpses, but without swimming. Without kicking or moving in any way. The dead Mario started to come after me like torpedoes. Their faces remained blank and blue and dead. They moved with astounding speed. They angled and positioned and worked all sorts of unique trajectories that left me almost nowhere to move. They continued coming at me and swarming and begging up to try again, and I just couldn't bring myself to let them touch me. Why? They'd die, wouldn't they? You've had no issues so far getting everything that tried to attack you. I moved with more speed and skill than I'd ever exerted, frantically trying to keep the Mario free from the drowning victims that seemed dead, set on rocketing straight into him. When I finally reached the purple exit pipe you see above, there had to be 10 of those things right behind, pitching, turning, and chasing me. I entered the pipe as fast as I could, thankful that it worked properly, and had Mario out of that situation in a heartbeat. The corridor that followed was empty, thankfully. It was just a blue underwater hallway of sorts, with nothing to avoid or kill. It was boring and predictable like the game had been all these years, which brought back a sense of safety. At the end of the hallway, I came to a standard pair of doors you'd enter to face the final boss. Beside the doorway, a mushroom power-up. I didn't touch that shit! Why? No, really, why? If this is the final boss of the level, wouldn't you want a power-up? Oh wait, I forgot you're using cheat codes. Going through the door was as you'd expect. The typical change of map views occurred, and Mario was standing on the obelisk bridge over boiling lava. Or had it been blood all along? When Mario walked down the bridge, however, there was no boss creature. Instead, Mario immediately looked to the side and froze. I couldn't control him anymore. He just stood there. Keep looking till you see it. I didn't even see it at first, so I don't expect you to notice it right away. If you still haven't spotted the thing, look at the 3rd window from the left. It's obviously meant to be a reference to the Hill Valley Sky level of Mario Galaxy 2, which wouldn't have even been made yet. FYI, that's not usually there. Thank you, I wouldn't have been able to figure that out on my own. Almost done. Mario seemed to regain his composure and looked back and forth slowly, surveying the room. It was still no boss, and I still couldn't control him, so I stopped trying and just watched. This went on and on for what seemed like forever. Nothing happened. Then a familiar face walked in from the right, dressed in green, tall, and angry. It was Luigi! Dun dun dun! Mario recoiled in horror. It is difficult to say that without thinking how crazy it sounds. Crazy either way. Mario reeled back with a sort of terror that was uncharacteristic for such a peppy, happy-go-lucky mascot like him. Then Luigi spoke. You thought Koopa worked alone? It's all connecting now. Really? The message is scrawled on the wall. I hate you. Why won't you die? Luigi! He's always been Mario's second banana. The player, too. The one who doesn't get the princess in these earlier games. No matter how identical he is to Mario, in skill set and ability and tenaciousness and bravery, at the end of the day, the game is the Super Mario Brothers. Yes, it is. That includes him. And I'm pretty sure you could even choose to play as Luigi in the game. How he must have hated Mario. Who among us wouldn't? Think about it. No matter what happens, Mario always comes back, no matter how many corpses he leaves littering the battlefield. Okay, was this written by MatPat? Was this, or was this not, written by MatPat of Game Theory under a different name? He's always there once more, to leap and cheer and get all the adoration. And Koopa hadn't worked alone? I didn't know what that meant at first, if anything. But again, you just have to think about it. How does King Koopa consistently succeed in the kidnapping of the princess? Because the Toads suck as guards. From day one, from the original Mario Brothers onward, it had always been an inside job. Seriously, did MatPat write this? Still unable to control the character, I watched Mario simply cower in fear as Luigi leapt high into the air, as high as he could in Mario 2. The bastard child of the franchise! He jumped on the pathetic, weeping Mario again, and again, and again. I was powerless to stop it, except for the fact that I could have turned the game off at any time. When he was done, he seemed to look at Mario's limp body with an overwhelming rage. Oh yes, look at that rage. Truly, he cannot withhold his resentment. Then the bridge started to disappear. Soon, Mario would be dead. As I looked on, I had an irrational thought. Would N be permanent? Within an instant, as Luigi turned to seemingly strike a victory pose, like he'd beaten the level, Mario awkwardly got to his feet and took him by surprise. Fear and sadness and confusion had given way to anger, and Mario overpowered his brother with little effort. To this day, I'm still haunted by the final result of his wrathful reprisal. Oh God, no! There was the map title. Title drop! What was that voice and why did I make it? None of this was a glitch. None of this was a mistake. It wasn't a developer getting back at Nintendo. And it wasn't a ghost on their Nintendo card. No, what this is a really goofy story. It was a planned, purposeful part of the Mario Brothers mythos. If you beat the level X number of times, a secret part of the world opened, and you learned that from the Mario Brothers through Mario Land, Luigi had been secretly working against you and was in fact facilitating the repeated abduction and abuse of the princess. But why? Money? Power? No. It was all there. Because he couldn't take not being the one in the spotlight. Not being Mario himself! Okay, I think I've calmed down now. For someone who said that this wasn't going to be a cliche creepypasta, you are being very melodramatic, which in turn is a creepypasta cliche. After Luigi had died, well and truly died, as opposed to have falsely died, Mario just sat on the edge of the bridge and wept. Sitting on the dock of the bay, watching his flesh melt away. Sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time. I was forced to watch this for minutes on end before the screen faded to black. I played the rest of the game through to see if anything had changed. Nothing else odd happened, as one would expect since the whole ordeal, which was just supposed to be part of the actual full story. I couldn't access the whirlpool again. I'd seen the events once, and that was all I was apparently allowed. It was back to the game as usual, the same exact game I had played since the 90s. I would probably continue to play for the rest of my days. Well, that was the same, except for the final image. Ooh, this has to be the longest creepypasta I've read so far. Well, viewers, this is not Highlight saying thanks for watching. Share your thoughts with me, and if you have any other creepypastas you'd like me to read in the future, let me know.